Hi everyone, ladies, welcome to this Tuesday afternoon video. I am back and I'm so excited to be back. I am more than excited to be back. I am grateful to be back. As many of you know, I have been away for a whole week I was in the desert in the mountains of New Mexico, and it was really quite beautiful to be surrounded by nature in that way. And to just take a week away from the busy world of work and home and city life, etc. And I was very much inspired to do so many things and talk about so many things and bring so many teachings to you guys during the last week because I was immersed into a women's camp. And my children came along with me to be immersed in a youth camp themselves. And, it was such a beautiful experience, but one that did not come without a lot of challenges, a lot of obstacles, a lot of changes of plans, and being able to, sort of go with the flow, but also stay in control. It was an interesting time, and I feel like I'm still going to need a few days to process what we just went through. But there's a few things I wanted to share with you today, whether you're watching live or you're going to watch the replay later. That's totally okay. As always, there's never an expectation of you guys being here live with me, especially because I know that I pop up here at different times every Tuesday, even though initially the plan was to be here at the same time, but that seems to not have worked out, and that's okay. But still, I'm hoping to still be committed to coming here every Tuesday because I know many of you have expressed that these simple, casual sort of trainings have been helpful. So I'm committed to doing that for you and for myself as well, because this is a good thing for me to do. This is a good thing for me to share all these things that come up for me during my practice, etc. So one of the things that came up for me during this week, the biggest challenge we went through is that I was not expecting to be separated from my children during the camp. I was expecting to have some activities separately, but to come together several times during the day and sort of check in, maybe eat together, and then be able to each do our yoga and our work on our own. But little did I know that the camp we signed up for was actually designed for the kids to be away from their parents all the time. And this is kind of a long story, but I'll make it very short. Long story short, I freaked out, completely freaked out, in full-on panic attack, anxiety. It was very challenging for me to be away from my kids in that way. And I'm sharing that for different reasons. One, to be completely transparent, because I don't ever want to come across with a false mask of I've got it all figured out and I've got it all together, like many of us might think. One of the most beautiful things I experienced during this camp, which was a women's camp, was the powerful sharing that we as women can have, the intimate healing that happens when we're able to be vulnerable with each other and not compete with each other and not try to sort of compare to each other to see who's got it better, who's got it more figured out than the other, who's got her shit together more than the other, who's a better mom, whose house looks better than whose, that kind of a thing. Not that at all. And so part of my sharing today is being completely honest, even though I am a yoga teacher and I am a meditation teacher and I am serving you in this spiritual work and this beautiful home design work. I don't have all my shit together. Far from that. And so my sharing in about my story of this panic attack and this anxiety that came up is real because many things were realized during those, well, not during the moment, but right after the panic. So a few things that I realized were, number one, how attached we are to our kids and how unhealthy sometimes that can be. but also too is how strong our intuition as mothers is. So briefly, I'll tell you that the first day we were there, when I was very anxious about the separation happening, we went through it overnight, and I was very upset. I spent a lot of my night crying, and so did my children, I found out. And it was very difficult. But one of the things that happened was that during my practice the next morning, early at 3:30 in the morning, I realized, this is the way this camp is set up. But if there's something powerful I've learned in my journey of spiritual work and of Kundalini yoga work, is that you must trust your intuition as a woman and as a mother. And my intuition was very strongly in telling me my kids needed to be with me overnight. This is what they needed, and I was going to make sure that happened. So it took a lot of strength, a lot of confidence, and a very strong projection and very strong voice. Even though the night before I was feeling very shaky, very vulnerable, very afraid, to come to the director and say, I understand this is your approach, and I respect it, and I even admire it, but it does not resonate with me right now, nor does it resonate with my children right now. So I'm going to speak up for myself and for them, and let you know that we are not wanting to sleep away from each other. So either we can have this new arrangement where I pick them up, or we're fine leaving. And if we have to leave, then we can leave. And this was tricky because I had also accepted a service exchange for my attendance. And so I had a commitment to have work that I was doing there. So long story short, my message was speak up for your kids. Like, really, don't be afraid to let anyone else tell you what you have to do with your kids. Like, do what you have to do. You know your kids better than anyone. So I was able to say that. I was able to make my point across strongly but kindly. And guess what? It worked. They were totally okay with it. And we were able to, my girls and I, to really have the experience we were wanting. They had an experience where they felt challenged, and where they accomplished many of those challenges. They overcame many obstacles. And at the end of the day, we still had a time to share, a time to connect, a time to be together and support each other, and just to cuddle and hang out, and then feel strong again the next day to do it all over again. So I just wanted to briefly let you know that you always have to be able to trust your intuition. And if you're developing your meditative mind, if you're developing this connection to your inner self, then those messages get clearer and clearer and clearer, even when you still get humanely triggered. I just made that up. I make words up all the time, but you know what I mean. In your human experience, you get triggered just as anyone else would. And so once you're able to overcome that and find yourself in alignment again with who you really are, with your essence, with your truth, then your intuition comes in. And you can do it. You can speak up. You can take action to change the way things are happening. You don't just have to surrender all the time, to let them be as they are. Sometimes we need that, but not all the time. It's quite a tricky dance of control and letting go and knowing when to do that. But what did come up for me was that I observed during this camp was the beauty of creating sacred spaces for children and nurturing them with their environment. So this camp they were at was very beautiful in a very simple way. Most of it was outdoors. They basically spent the entire day outdoors, eating, grooming themselves even, because all bathrooms were outside, showers outside, sinks for brushing teeth were all outside. There were no running toilets, it was just porta potties. It was a very simple outdoor space. But the kids had these cabins where they slept, which my girls only slept in a couple nights because the rest of the time they came to tent with me. But it was so simple, yet so beautiful. And so it reminded me of the very beginning of Sacred Interiors being mothering and creating this beautiful space for my baby when my firstborn was on her way. And so I thought I would make this training today on creating sacred spaces for your kids, and creating sacred bedrooms for your kids in a very, very simple way, okay? So sorry that I rambled about all these other things, but it just all comes together in appreciation for what we can create as mothers, appreciation for this beautiful commitment, this beautiful responsibility of being a mom, and this beautiful service that we can do for our kids while they're little. Because that was the biggest message for me was, I want my kids to be independent, and I want them to be strong, and I want them to be themselves. But I also recognize they're only so little for so long, right? And so let me treasure these times. Let me create memories and bonding and connections that stay strong with them now in the most conscious way I possibly can. I'm sure I'm going to make tons of mistakes. I already have. And I'm sure I'm going to mess them up in many ways. I probably already have. But it's never too late to just do your best. Every day you just realign into doing the best you can. And so being able to have this physical space for them is something that has been very important to me, because even at times where I forget to bring my very best, these little corners that we create together remind me of that and surround them with the energy and the intention of creating a beautiful, peaceful environment for them to live in and to go to sleep in and to play in and to be themselves in. And I have seen it work over and over and over. So today, I thought I would share with you little parts of my kids' bedroom and what we do to make this room a sacred space, okay? So it might get a little weird when I turn the camera around, so just bear with me because I don't think I've ever really done this in this way, but I'm going to do my best. So let's see where to start. I'm going to start over here by showing you this wall over here. So actually, let me turn the camera around. Oh, so I'm gonna sort of just give you some guides as far as what parts of this design makes the room sacred, because a lot of the times it's not what you think. It's not always either, there's two different misconceptions that I hear people have all the time about creating sacred spaces. One is that they think it's going to be like all esoteric, like you're going to have all these woo-woo stuff everywhere, and it doesn't have to be that. And then two, the other aspect is, well, it's going to be busy, or it's going to be really crowded, or it's going to look like a church altar somewhere. Like these are funny little myths that I've heard people bring up to me when they think of sacred spaces. But to me, what makes a space a sacred space is that it has your energy in it, that it has the things that matter to you the most in it, and not just physical things, but your dreams, your heart space, your visions, your feelings, your dreams, etc. And so really reminding you of your highest potential. That's what, for me, a space is sacred. Being sacred is all about. Okay, so just a little heads up. So I'm going to show you this wall here. Okay, so this wall is the wall my kids face when they are in their bed. So this is where this is Luna's little shelf, and this is where she has her name, and she has her dolls, which are very much special to her. One of the things that I love bringing up as sacred, touches for children is handmade toys. That in itself is such a beautiful sort of reverence to the nature items that you can bring into their lives. It has like such a beautiful sense of peace and of love and of care, and it helps children really value things for more than their looks or their price, but really to understand that someone worked at making these pieces. And so these are some of her dolls, which have come to us through many different ways, many different journeys, friends that we have, sort of received these as gifts from. But they're all handmade, they're all made out of natural materials, and they are very much dear to her. and to them, because they used to belong, some of them used to belong to my oldest, and now they've passed down onto my youngest. And in many ways, having dolls in this way and toys in this way, this was one of the first handmade toys I ever made for my girls, a unicorn that I knitted for them. And these are just really beautiful ways for them to feel honored and special, and to also value the things that they have. These are usually not items that you're going to see them, throw and treat in ways that aren't respectful. They almost these dolls almost resemble a human being and a child. And so they are expected in my home to be treated with respect, and my kids very much honor that. These little baskets are sort of where Luna keeps all her knickknacks, and then she's got some games and books down there. We try hard to make sure that part of having a sacred space is keeping it as clutter-free as possible. And that doesn't mean it's mess-free, because of course I'm presenting to you a really well cleaned out room today. It's not how it always looks, of course, but for the most part, they do a pretty good job at keeping a home for all their things. And so here we have Emma's shelf. She's got her own shelf here, and she's a little bit more particular about her stuff. She's got some art that she's painted, and some Tooth Fairy memories and cards that she's received, some of her own handmade toys. And special pictures of her and her friends, and her beloved books. She is an avid reader and loves her books, and then she keeps her violin here. That's kind of like her space. And in this cabinet, it's kind of like the cabinet where all the things that are delicate live. Another aspect of their room that I love is displaying their artwork. They're very much proud of their work and what they're able to accomplish. And so these are a collection of their art over the years, and they very much love the pop of color, especially because we are in a rental this year and we haven't painted any of the walls. They've all been kept white, which I personally love, but my kids not so much. And so one of the things they were asking for when we were first creating this room was, can we add more color? And this was the idea that we came up with, was let's add more color with your art, and let's add more color with, your own expression, creative expression. So that's their art wall. And then we have another art wall over here, which is also where they keep their instruments that they love to play. These pieces have all been painted by my daughter. And so I love showing this in its simplicity, because you'll see there's nothing luxurious about this room. People think sometimes interior design is like this perfectly put together room that has to be crazy expensive. And it isn't. I mean, there are basic design principles that you want to have, but overall, you want to make your space yours. All these Pinterest pictures that you see are great for inspiration, but copying them completely doesn't give your space personality and authenticity. So this, to me, is a true expression of authenticity. They very much love this wall. These paintings are changed over time, and then they have some more dolls here, which they really also treasure. Another aspect of a sacred space for children. So over here we have their nightstand, which becomes kind of an altar. There's a few things that are about engaging, I'm going to turn the camera around, engaging your children's senses as far as decorating. I've talked about this before, and those senses are all about touch, which is where the natural materials come in. They're also about smell. So we have essential oils that I spray their sheets with, spray their pillows with. We also keep a little spray bottle with essential oils. And sometimes, now my kids are bigger, so I don't go to the, work of doing this anymore. But occasionally I might when there's a strong need, but then when they were younger, I used to decorate this bottle like with a quick little, sheet of paper, make a cute little drawing. And we used to call it fairy spray. I've also seen moms of boys call it monster spray. And so when they have bad dreams and when they have nightmares, right before they go to bed, like we'll spray the room, and we'll be like calling upon the fairies or calling upon archangels or whatever it is that might resonate with you, where it's like creating this connection in their brain with a smell that is nurturing and that is calming. Usually lavender oil is really good for that. And then they're almost like getting a little courage to just know that they're safe. So that's kind of a cool little way to engage their smell and engage them in feeling safe in their room. Another way that we use to create safety and to create sort of a ritual for their space is using crystals and rocks. My girls are obsessed with them, and they keep them here. I'm going to show you. They keep them in their nightstand, and they often pick them and put them under their pillows for better dreams. They also, of course, have their chimes, and these we use at night to sort of give that cue of it's time for bed. These are like Zen chimes. I normally play them, as they're putting their pajamas on, and it's kind of, again, another little transition of, okay, it's really now time for bed. They also love keeping flowers in their room. This is a rose that Luna loves. And this feather, I don't know if you can see it well, it's actually a feather that they just brought from their trip. It's a peacock feather, and they got it from Yogi Bhajan's peacocks and his ranch. So it's like super, super special. So that's that for, engaging their senses. Here's another little space, my other daughter's space, that she keeps very tidy. And she keeps all her special stuff in it. She keeps her crystals, a rose that she's been working on drying. She keeps a picture of her and I in her. And this candle, we also light it up every night for prayers. They also keep like their art again here, where she wrote her spiritual name, Griyan Krishna. And, these are just really beautiful ways to engage them in creating reverence for them and, instilling some values. Here are their beds. This is a piece that Emma made herself by hand. She knitted this. Isn't it amazing? And she loves cuddling with it. Again, it gives her a sense of pride because she finished this and she made it with her own hands. So she treats it well. She doesn't usually let it be, thrown on the floor. Making sure that the materials we use for their beds are as natural as possible is also something really good for children, for them to have, natural fibers. And so this is pure wool, this piece, and then we have a nice down comforter here with some organic cotton sheets. These are actually not 100% cotton, but they are super cute. So sometimes we're okay with being flexible with that as well. We just do your best, we just do our best. And then the last part is also pictures and images that we surround our children with. We have, pictures of them on the wall, which, they're really, really, really beloved. And then we also have, this pillow here is super special. This was actually the first sling I used to carry them when they were first born. It's a handmade, embroidered Serena and Lily sling. And once they were no longer babies, I actually turned it into a pillow. And so this pillow is like super special to them and to me. And then the other part I wanted to show you was these images, right, that surround them with feeling safe. So we keep a picture of our family up here, even though I'm not married anymore, but they know that this is still their family. And that's really important for them to know. So we keep that picture there. And then these are all just really, really beautiful handmade needle felted pieces that, bring in that really loving, nurturing, and embracing sort of energy into the room. And I love that when my daughter goes to sleep, this is kind of like the last thing she sees. So I imagine it being kind of like a a reminder, an affirmation for her, a prayer of nourishment and safety for her as well. So that's their room. I hope that it was helpful for you guys to, have this conversation about how to make, in a very simple way, your kids' room sacred. Just to recap, natural materials are a big part of that. Engaging their senses with smells, using essential oils, having natural materials, crystals, salt lamps, flowers, bringing nature into the room. Those are beautiful ways to make the room special and sacred. And then also having kind of a space for everything. We talk about toys having a home, and so we know that dolls always go on this shelf. We don't just throw them on a bin on top of books and on top of Legos. Like, there's a small space where everything lives, and that helps us keep things uncluttered or decluttered. And it helps us also keep less things and be more simple in the way that we tidy up and not be overwhelmed by having too many things. It's like they know what they have, they see it, and it all has a special place to be. And then the other aspect is surrounding them with their own art and their own expression. I know a lot of moms who try really hard to keep the rooms of the kids perfect and to design it into this vision that they have. But I've learned the hard way, okay? Don't be fooled by this. I've learned the hard way that this room should not be about me. This isn't my room, it's their room. So let me help them express their vision and let me include them in the decision making of what they want to have in the room. That's very important for them to feel like it's their own. And sometimes I cringe because the designer in me is like, you want what? A purple comforter? No, but sometimes I have to do that because, again, this is their space, not mine. So surrounding themselves with their own art, with their own expression. Maybe it might be their own Lego, creation. I don't know. Find what your child likes, what they have worked hard at, what they have accomplished, what they have taken on as a long-term project, and display it for them. Let them feel proud of themselves for that. What else did we talk about? Sound, the chimes, and then ritual as part of their day-to-day to transition from, let's say, playtime to bedtime. Again, using those oils every night and the stones under the pillows are really good ways to help them feel safe and to channel their worry or their fears into devotion, into more prayer, into more positivity. And then that being said, I wanted to invite you guys to, my screen just froze there for a minute, to a parenting training that I'm going to be doing. It's not going to be a free training because there's going to be a lot in it, and it's going to also be a place where we can do questions and answers and engage with each other. This is going to be happening July 12th. I'll be sending you, we're sharing with you the link to join. It's going to be $33, so it's not expensive at all, but we're going to go to the 11 keys to sacred parenting. And so this is something that I'm very, very passionate about. And we'll talk about some of the tips to physically create this space as well. But we're also going to go deeper into what parenting is from a sacred context, because again, I feel like it's time for me to honor the reason why I'm even doing all this work and where it started, which was birth and mothering. And so using all these years of experience, using what I have learned, using the technology of Kundalini Yoga, and using this last week as a fuel and as a recharge for me to embrace more of this sharing of this beautiful, beautiful journey of parenting and a sacred life with you guys. That's where this workshop coming up July 12th came from. So we're going to be talking about the 11 keys for sacred parenting. We're going to give some tips on how to design your space for your child to be sacred. You can ask me any questions. We'll have an awesome time. We'll do a meditation together to tune into that creative mothering energy that you have, where you can tap into the highest potential of you as a mother. And we're going to learn some very, very beautiful concepts and keys to parent in the best possible way. Some of them very triggering and very difficult as well, so hang on. But we'll go through it in the safest possible way and in the most nourishing possible way. And again, using as a foundation the beauty that comes when we as women gather, even if it's virtually gathering together and really embracing each other and supporting each other, and creating even a sense of community, again, even if it's using the digital world for that. But I really, really encourage you to join me on that call. It'll be a private link that you'll receive once your purchase for the course is made. It's only $33, and we'll spend a couple hours going through this and together and engaging with each other and really honoring our parenting journey with each other. And I assure you that after the workshop's done, there's a feeling of upliftment, and there's a feeling of confidence, and there's a feeling of, when I think of when I've done these workshops and when I've attended them as well, there's a feeling of, wow, I really have done a wonderful job. Yes, there's still so much to do, but there's peace in, I've done such a wonderful job. And for other women, it may be realizing that maybe they haven't done their very best yet, but that it's never too late, and that today is the day where you can start tapping into the best possible mother you can be, because our children are only borrowed for a short time, and we want to make the best impression in them, and we want to give them the best possible tools and the best possible messages for them to feel safe, for them to feel loved, and for them to feel empowered to be themselves in this world that really, really needs whole, good human beings. So I encourage you to join me. I'll post a link super soon, July 12th. We're going to be chatting on the 11 keys to sacred parenting. I hope you can join me. Have a beautiful day. Sat Nam.